right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA Podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. Got Adam Mares coming up in just a few minutes. We talk a little about Adam's pilgrimage to Serbia, talk about Eurobasket, and then we predict which 12 players will make the All-Star game in the Western Conference this coming season. A little bit of a tough exercise. It's going to be hard to punch your ticket if you're an NBA player in the West if everybody stays healthy, who, we think could be in consideration for one of those all-star spots. Adam and I actually record this conversation during the overtime of one of the Eurobasket games of Italy-France, where France stormed back to win. Italy basically collapsed at the very end of the game. They got called for a technical foul for flopping with 90 seconds left, up 5. Just incredible stuff. And then Simone Fontecchio, who is going to the Utah Jazz this season, he had an amazing game, except he missed 2 free throws in the final seconds that would have put Italy up 4. This was in regulation. And then France came down, tied the game, sent it to overtime before they won. In the other quarterfinal that was played on Wednesday, Poland defeated Luka Doncic in Slovenia. A stunning upset. So this Eurobasket, which I've been geeking out about for having, all this top-level NBA talent, all these NBA MVPs, they're all out before the semifinals. The semifinals will be Poland versus France and Spain versus Germany. Giannis got sent home. Jokic got sent home. Doncic got sent home. Valanciunas got sent home. Just kidding. Well, he actually got sent home. Lithuania, they lost. So it's still very fun, but man, single elimination tournament, it's exciting. In NBA news, the Robert Sarver report came out. Kind of a big deal. And people are upset because kind of nothing happened. I am pretty jaded and just assumed nothing would happen. Like, he got suspended for a year, which Adam Silver wants you to know is the second longest suspension in league history. So he can't go to work, although he's already told a Suns reporter, that he's going to be making decisions from his home, which seems to be a direct violation of this suspension. He got fined $10 million, which is the maximum amount that Adam Silver can fine an owner. But he's not going to be removed. Silver can't unilaterally remove him or kick him out. You're not going to get, at least I assumed, this is why I'm not surprised, I think most people following it closely are not surprised, you're not going to get the owners to rally around Adam Silver and kick him out for this behavior. Unfortunately, that's just the way it works in the world. Powerful, wealthy people, I don't think are going to be held accountable for this toxic behavior, for verbal sexual harassment, for racism. It isn't enough to get out sports owners, I don't think, when you compare it to the Donald Sterling situation. The Donald Sterling situation was kind of this perfect storm where you had these incendiary audio recordings. You had a franchise in the Clippers that other owners were actually happy that it would be sold because it would enrich them all, that Steve Ballmer would pay $2 billion or whatever it was to get the Clippers. So there was a financial motivation that Donald Sterling was not fully utilizing the value of his franchise. Also, and I forgot this, also Shelley Sterling had a lawyer or had a judge on standby who would rule that Donald Sterling was unfit to make these decisions for his businesses. Without all of that, nothing happens. Also, without the pressure of the players in the playoffs and Chris Paul and the Clippers saying, hey, we're not going to play our playoff game tonight because it broke during the playoffs. Without all of that, I don't know if anything's going to happen. I don't know if anything would have happened to Donald Sterling. Donald Sterling was fined for the largest racial housing discrimination in U.S. history, and nothing happened. He was still the owner, or the governor, as now we call it. All this not calling them owners, calling them governors. Get out of here. I understand why you don't want to use that terminology, but this situation, I think, is Vince Goodwill pointed out on Yahoo. Great article. This situation highlights the fact that, all right, you can call him a governor, but like, there's no accountability. Adam Silver had a press conference on Wednesday, and he earned his money. He earned his salary for the year. And I don't mean that by like he earned his money. He did a good job. He did not do a good job. He stood there and took it. He stammered and ummed his way through a press conference with no good answers. The actions are indefensible, but, is what he said. The league had to issue a correction for what he said when he pretty clearly enunciated that owners are not held to the same conduct standard that regular employees are. Now, I don't think we're children here. I don't believe many of us feel that owners in the sports world or even the business world are held to the same standard as employees. Just not how the world works. And so Adam Silver stood there and had no good answers. He defended his actions, his decisions of why this punishment was appropriate. But I think we have to fall back to the fact that without massive player outcry, without all the owners standing up against a fellow owner, nothing's going to happen. At least nothing to the level of removing Robert Sarver or forcing a sell. Now, the players did start to say some stuff. LeBron James came out and said he read the report and the league got it wrong. The punishment's wrong. There's no place in the NBA for what Robert Sarver has done. Chris Paul, who quite obviously is on the Suns, Chris Paul comes out and says, this is not okay. There's no place for this in our league. So maybe more players will get on board, and maybe there will be some momentum for other owners to try to hold one of their peers accountable. But in September, with no games on the horizon, or at least no like games that have to be played today, I don't know if there will be the outcry, the overwhelming push, and the momentum to do something like oust one of the NBA governors. Maybe if more players keep speaking out, it'll happen. Like, was it on purpose that this happened weeks before media day and training camp? Yeah, probably. They don't want this to happen when there are actual games to be jeopardized if players decide they want to make a stand. They can apply some pressure. Who knows? Maybe something will happen. I'm just, again, a cynical and jaded old guy. Moving on. If you're in the Nashville area, make sure you come to the Grizzlies Caravan this Saturday, September 17th at the Nashville Sounds game. David Roddy and Xavier Tillman will be there. Also, our own Chuck Anderson will be there. Come get a Fastbreak Breakfast sticker from Chuck. Come register to win a free trip to Memphis, a weekend trip to Memphis. Come say hi to David Roddy and Xavier Tillman. It's all happening at the Sounds game. Gates open at 6 p.m. this Saturday, September 17th. Also, if you want to support our program, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. You can play fantasy sports with us. You get access to exclusive bonus videos. You can join our Slack where we talk about basketball and whatever else around the clock. Support the show, patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, now let's talk some NBA All-Stars. I'm joined right now by Adam Mares. Adam, how are you, man?
I'm great. Little peek behind the curtain. Missing the overtime of Italy-France, but I'll just judge your reaction because I can tell you have it on. I'll just judge your reactions to follow the game.
I've got it on, so that peek behind the curtain lets everyone know we're recording this on Wednesday, September 14th. You won't hear it until Thursday, September 15th. But yeah, I have to record right now, and unfortunately, Simone Fontecchio misses 2 free throws at the end of the regulation. Kind of chokes. I think that's that lack of game closing that Danny Ainge is going to want for the Jazz this year as they look to maybe pretend they're competitive, but find the loss in every winnable situation.
Real quick here, Keith. I will say maybe it's just that I've been watching Eurobasket and I'm far removed from the NBA, a little recency bias. But did Utah get the 2 best players in that trade, Lauri Markkanen and Fontecchio?
No, I think yes. I think 100% Danny Ainge. ripped him off. Not just the draft picks, the draft swaps, getting Markkanen, who it was unbelievable. And this guy who I'll be real, never seen him play until Eurobasket this year. Simon Fontecchio. Adam, you traveled a lot this summer. You made maybe, I don't know, a trip of a lifetime as you and the DNVR guys went out to Serbia. Can you sum up that trip of a lifetime in like 2 or 3 sentences?
Absolutely. No, you're right. It was the trip of a lifetime going out to Serbia, meeting. I mean, we have a pretty good following out there. Now we have an enormous following after this trip, but because of Jokic, we obviously have a lot of Serbian fans that follow along our work, and getting to go out there, meet them, learn all about Serbian basketball history and culture, which was like super fascinating. It's one of those things, Keith, there's so many stories to tell. And when you find one that you've never heard before, and it's like awesome, it's like discovering a movie, like a foreign film that you've never seen. And you're like, wow, this is better than 99% of the movies that I've ever seen before. How had I never heard of it? That's sort of what this trip was like.
Well, what are some of those stories? What are some of those amazing stories that are similar to? I like to compare it to just seeing, not even like discovering an unknown film, just seeing a great film you'd heard of and never watched, and then you were like, "Whoa, that Rosemary Babies, that movie's amazing."
Nobody ever told me about The Godfather. What a good movie.
Right.
Keeping it from me. I can't, in part because I'm doing a documentary that's going to sort of blend our trip with this telling of what I think is the greatest one. But I'll tease it by just saying this. Yugoslavia, the Soviet Union, and the U.S. for much of the 20th century, in my opinion, my limited knowledge opinion, were 3 of the best basketball countries in the world. And I think we all know about the Soviet Union, and we all know about the U.S., but Yugoslavia, one, I don't think we know it that well just through the history books, but especially the basketball history books. And there's their peak era, their golden era, if you will, Yugoslavia's, came during the Civil War, the breakup of the country, sanctions, and of course the bombings by NATO. And it's just an interesting thing when you have this very proud basketball tradition and their best teams kind of come apart at the same time as one of their worst moments, and their biggest games come in those moments as well. And there's some really interesting stories there.
Well, I'll definitely look forward to that content when you put it out. Can you at least give us a glimpse? What's a Serbian breakfast like?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a great question. As with almost all Serbian foods, it's just a lot. It's like 8 breakfasts in the US. Burek we tried, which is it's kind of like a deep dish pizza, only made with way worse ingredients, like kind of a goaty tasting cheese and way more oil. There is a lot of meats. I mean, we had a couple breakfasts where you're eating like 5 different types of meat, along with like an egg or something, and then like a piece of lettuce or something. So Serbian breakfast, I would say outside of Burek, Serbian breakfast, 10 out of 10. It might be more like 100 out of 10. And that it's just so much.
It's a lot. What games did you guys end up seeing when you were there? Were those were the qualifiers you were watching?
Yeah. So there's basically this is how I can distill it down. There's 3 major events in international play: the Olympics, we all know about; the World Cup, we all know about; and then Eurobasket, is sort of the third wheel there that I think most people don't know about. We actually watched World Cup qualifiers, which were games to make sure you qualified for next year's World Cup. That just so happened to take place right before Eurobasket began. So it's extra confusing. But yeah, we just watched one game. It was a World Cup qualifier in Belgrade between Greece and Serbia.
Yeah, I actually was watching some of the U.S. team in their World Cup qualifiers, led by Norris Cole. They fell to your guy, Facundo Campazzo, in Argentina, who won whatever that little fun tournament was.
Yeah.
Is Facundo coming back? Is he on the
no chance.
Okay, no chance.
Absolutely. I think he signed with Real Madrid. So
okay.
Or Barcelona, one of those two. I can't remember.
I hadn't updated my depth charts yet. But I was assuming he was moving on. Well, as much as I do want to hear about Serbia, we have a very focused goal on today's episode, and it's a difficult task. And we're going to try to forecast the upcoming NBA season. And we're going to try to pick, using the parameters the league has given us, to pick the 12 players in the Western Conference who will make the All-Star team.
This is easy.
Oh, it's simple?
Well, it's easy for Denver. My contributions to this list will be very accurate.
But I mean, we got to do the whole league here. I mean, Jokic is it. So,
Okay.
I mean, like I think the trick for the Western Conference, part of it maybe got easier because Donovan Mitchell went to the East.
Yeah. Okay.
DeJounte Murray, replacement All-Star, probably
Right.
wasn't
Yeah.
going to get in this year, but he's
No.
to the East. Don't have to worry about him. The trick for the West right now is dealing with those 5 starters. Where last year, somewhat controversially, but then he redeemed himself. Andrew Wiggins was an all-star starter, much to everybody's surprise due to the fan vote.
Yeah, he redeemed himself in that he played well enough for us not to care, but he's not one of the 5 best players in the Western Conference.
He played unbelievably well in the playoffs where he looked like an all-star. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
He played at I think, an all-star level. The league needs to fix this thing where Doncic was a guard and like Ja Morant and Steph Curry were starters last year, Doncic off the bench. If they don't fix it still this coming year, do you concur that are likely all-star starters in the West? Backcourt, probably Steph and Ja again. The front court gets tricky. You assume Jokic. I mean, I'm putting Jokic in again. I assume LeBron James will always get the votes.
Yeah.
And then we have this third front court guy. This is what Wiggins ended up last year. We have Kawhi Leonard coming back. We have Zion Williamson coming back. Do you have a leaning for when we're building this all-star roster, who that 5th starter is going to be?
I mean, it's got to be. You're right that it's hard just because the positionality of all of this. But isn't Luka qualify as both? Isn't
no?
He...
So it was all weird last year. He was a guard because they have that very restrictive voting thing on like the NBA webpage, and he finished 3rd in the guard votes, and that was only because the Mavericks underperformed at the beginning of the year. I'm still a little surprised. Maybe I'm just not accustomed to one of my guys being popular, but the fact that Ja Morant got more votes than Luka Doncic still surprises me. I don't know. Like if Luka moves to the front court, then it's done. For me, it's easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
But right now, that's not what we have. So I think we have to pick between Zion or Wiggins getting back, or Paul George, or Kawhi, or Gobert, or Cat, or AD. Like I don't know what I don't know what it's going to be.
You're right, because I don't have that much faith in Kawhi Leonard playing the requisite amount of games and having the requisite amount of peaks. I could see the Clippers, him playing like 60% of games and the Clippers being really good when he doesn't play, so it becomes weird. Paul George being as good, if not better than him in regular season minutes or what have you. But I'm still going to stick with it. Here's the thing about MVP or about all-star voting is it does happen. It ends really early. And fans just vote on whatever is like they remember, not on what's happening, but what they remember from happening in prior years. So I do think Kawhi Leonard will probably get a nod on that just because it's like, hey, it's Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers are the 3 seed. Clearly it's him. Of course we have to go with him.
So I'm going to put you down for having Kawhi as your 5th. I am going to assume the voting block of the Bay Area in California is just no one can catch up to it. I'm going to put Wiggins back in as it's just a thing we have to deal with. It's the thing we have to deal with. If it's the K-pop fans doing it, I'm doing it. Also, I'm turning up the difficulty level on mine. That's what I'm doing right here. I'm making it harder to pick my 7 reserves. So I'm going to say, hold
on a second, Keith, because I want to comment on that.
Okay.
I'm with it. I'm for it. And here's why. NBA discourse is so annoying to me with these types of things specifically that I've overcorrected to where now I'm rooting for the most annoying thing to happen. And that would be the most annoying thing. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see everybody's brain break.
My overcorrection was stop releasing the ballots. I don't want to know
right.
that some beat writer in some NBA city left Steph Curry off his all NBA team. Like, you know what? Who cares?
Great take.
Did Steph Curry not end up where he was supposed to end up? Like, just let people do their things. This went back to the All-Star vote. We're like, oh, the fans can't have it. We almost got so-and-so. Zaza Pachulia almost made the All-Star game. We can't have a fan vote anymore. Let's let the players do it. And then you look at the player vote. You're like, Grayson Allen finished 8th. Yeah. Like, what? The players aren't taking it any more seriously, but we did. I think we got the proper result generally. So I'm with you.
Yours is, I think, a correct take. It's both hilarious and correct. A rare example of that.
This goes back to college football, which I don't follow anymore. But I was like, the Heisman Trophy is no longer interesting.
Yeah,
because everyone has to be on the same page, and whoever ESPN's guiding what we have to think from like 2 months before the season. It used to be more interesting when like the guy living in Oregon, he didn't get to see the teams on the East Coast play. They weren't on TV. He had to read about them in the paper. I kind of think that's more fun. let's pick some reserves. I think we're both, since you got Kawhi, we're definitely including Luka Doncic, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
The 2023 MVP, yeah, he's got to be on there.
So this is an aside. I don't think the Mavs are going to be good enough, right? I mean,
look,
maybe it doesn't matter anymore. Maybe it's just
my favorite. Again, I'm rooting for the chaos. I want the 6-seeded Mavs to Luka to get it in the 6-seeded Mavs, just for the takes.
Are there any other locks for you now that you have 6 guys? You have Steph, Ja, Jokic, LeBron, and Kawhi starting, and then Luka Doncic. There's plenty other guys who are like proven all NBA level talent, but because of the squirreliness of selecting all-stars, are there any other locks that you're like, that player's definitely in?
Some of this is just injury, because I do think Damian Lillard is close to a lock, just by virtue of the team will likely be good enough for the people to say, well, they'll probably get one, and he has the name power. I think the same is probably true of Devin Booker. Look, the Suns might be a top 1, 2, 3 seed. In fact, probably where I would project them by the time voting closes. You got to give somebody there, and he's the most likely one. So those two to me seem the most likely. And then this might sound crazy, but is Karl-Anthony Towns close to a lock now? You don't have Gobert anymore, so you don't have anybody.
It's a weird situation, but you have Gobert. This is a similar issue that I ran across last week with our buddy Dave DeFord doing the Eastern Conference. The Cavaliers have all these quote unquote all-stars, guys who have made the all-star game. But if we're not thinking they're going to have like an 80 winning percentage at the all-star break, they're not putting in 2 or 3 guys. I don't know. I don't know how the narrative is going to drive between Gobert and Cat, because I don't think both of them are getting in unless they do have a record that reflects, dominance.
My galaxy brain take is that Anthony Edwards is going to be the one that suffers the most this next season. Everybody's ready for him to climb, and I think he might be like, hey, there's 2 bigs clogging everything up here from time to time. It's harder for me now. So, and then I just don't think Gobert's going to do the things that it's going to be like Utah, only less so, because you'll have a counterpart that's doing all the flashy things. You're right, though. It's not a lock. The more we break this down, the more it's like, who knows how that's going to go. A lot of chaos there.
So players who I think are like near locks, Paul George is one of the best, easily for me, one of the best 10 players in the West.
Easily, but is he going to play? That's the only thing.
The injury thing is I'm basically assuming everyone's going to play except Kawhi. I'll give you the Kawhi. He's going to play.
And Jamal Murray.
We're going to randomly penalize him 29 games. Listen, if Jamal Murray played every game, I don't think he's cracking it. I'm sorry, Adam. But even with the minute limitation, that gives us an excuse, absolution to not feel bad about ignoring Jamal Murray. I think if Zion plays, he's in.
That's a great take. That's a great take. I'm with that one. Zion, come on, his numbers are ridiculous, man.
What do we do with Anthony Davis?
Again, that's one where it just counts. If he's playing like he did in 2020, just minutes wise, I think he's close to a lock.
So we're gonna have
that though. Who knows what that?
He's gonna. So we're gonna have the. Let's just use some general consensus of how good these teams are gonna be. Think about Vegas over-unders or whatever. We're going to have a Blazers team that's probably not that great, but maybe they're competitive. We're going to have
Damian Lillard though.
We're going to have a Lakers team that's probably not that great, but you're going to have LeBron, we assume, gets voted as a starter, but then you're going to have AD and Dame, and those are Hall of Famers. They're absolute great players. I assume the coaches will probably put them both in. So that means that we're basically running out of spots. I'm going to include Paul George. I'm going to include AD. I'm going to include Damian Lillard. I also agree with you that Devin Booker's getting in.
Right, so we're all the same so far. And then we have Zion, right?
Okay. So if you agree with me there, if we have the same, that's 10. Okay. That's 10, not counting Zion.
So we got 2 spots.
I'm not even counting. I didn't even include Kawhi on mine because I had Wiggins. That's the one difference between us. I threw Wiggins as the starter. So if you're including Devin Booker, you're including Paul George, you're including Anthony Davis. If you're including Zion, you have 1 spot left. You have 1 spot left for a Timberwolves player, perhaps.
I'm not doing it. I don't think. You know who I'm going to go with? This is such a galaxy brain take. What a hipster take. I'm ashamed of myself. I'm gonna go with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I think is sneaky.
That's a
great.
terrible one.
I think it's a huge sneaky
Terrible
great, and
one.
it's hidden because he never plays. But this year he might play, average 24 a game on great efficiency, be a good defensive player. And who knows, man? Well, yeah, they'll be bad.
I feel bad asking you to do this exercise now.
You really hate it that bad?
I really hate that selection that badly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it because they're just such a bad team, or you think he is not an all-star caliber player?
I don't think he's a better overall player than, let's say, guys who are not on your team. Over a Karl Anthony Towns or over a Anthony Davis. Oh, we include Anthony Davis.
We included Anthony Davis. I mean, it's
okay.
Anthony Edwards. I mean, part of this is it's just so hard to project who's going to be the guy that shines for Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I kind of think it's going to be Towns more than anyone. But is it cannibalized by, I don't know.
So I'm realizing I basically have to pick between, if I include Wiggins on my team, and if I consider, I think I'm moving Damian Lillard. He's now a fringe for me. He's now an in or out. I feel more comfortable. I think I'm going to say, I'm going to introduce a new level. This is not a total lock. This is a near lock. My reserves, I'm definitely having Doncic, Booker, Paul George, and Karl Anthony Towns. I'm going to take Karl Anthony Towns. Okay. So now I'm basically down to 3 spots for Zion, for AD, for Kawhi Leonard, for Damian Lillard. And it's I think I'm gonna go Zion, AD, Damian Lillard, and I'm gonna kick Kawhi off mine. So I'm assuming he's gonna play 30 games. I'm gonna break my own injury rule. So do you feel good?
I feel pretty good about it. Let's
see if we missed Brandon Ingram. We didn't even say his name. We don't care.
I just don't. To me, Brandon Ingram's not an all-star. I think he gets credit, but once Zion's back, it's like, okay, there's clearly a player that's the best player here.
What about Chris Paul?
He was the other guy I would have gone to. I was sitting here thinking about him as maybe a better lock than Shai. If you have the number 2 seeded Suns and the number 11 seeded Thunder, but the Thunder, Shai's numbers are just so much better. Just raw point per game type numbers are so much better. Where do you go there? I don't know.
What about Draymond Green? He was an injury replacement last year.
He just doesn't do the things that are like that. I don't. I mean, he's a great player. I just don't know if he's going to be on the All-Star game.
What about when Desmond Bane scores 25 a game this year? Any Kings, Jazz, Spurs, or Rockets players? Fringe contenders? What if Jalen Green scores 30 a game?
I think it's every year. I don't consider myself the biggest NBA hipster, but I'm just like because maybe it's Eurobasket that has me in this zone right now for some reason. But I kind of liked Sacramento this year. So
that's the hipster zone I'm into.
Just saying it out loud makes me feel so bad. But so part of me thinks, could De'Aaron Fox have like one of those years where it kind of surprises people? I don't see it for a whole year, but by the All-Star games, it's like, wow, look at what De'Aaron Fox is doing out there. Maybe. So I wouldn't pick him, but I'm just going to say his name. So if it happens, I'll take credit.
Right. So all right, our final rosters. Your starters: Steph Curry, John Morant, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Nikola Jokic. What an incredible 5 that is.
It's great.
Your reserves: Damian Lillard, Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, Paul George, Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Oh, I love it. Let's go.
I
love it. Save this file.
You are snubbing Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. I see what you're doing.
You have to understand that I really despise both of those players.
I can see that now. I see you're just sowing the seeds of hatred, wrath, discontent between Nuggets and Timberwolves.
You know what I didn't factor in was the Karl Anthony Towns media tour he's going to do in the weeks leading up to the closing of All-Star voting. I didn't factor that in. He's going to do at least 8 features.
I'm really struggling with, like, not joking, trying to envision like the Gobert versus Towns debates. Not that it'll be like heated or anything, but it's like if it works out how they're hoping, if they're like the 4th seed or the 5th seed when all the votes are due, like are their stats going to cannibalize each other? And I honestly believe Anthony Edwards is going to take a leap this year. I think the 25 a game he scored in the playoffs against the Grizzlies is closer to what he's going to be this regular season. I think he's just going to go nuts.
to make that group work. And by the way, I like the idea of the twin. What do we call them? Twins. I don't remember what it's called. The two tall guys.
Yeah.
Well, they had a good name for it. I can't remember. It's Twin City Towers or something like that. I kind of like the concept of it, but to make it work and to make it work quickly, you need the right sacrifice from everybody. And those seem like guys that are absolutely unwilling to sacrifice anything. So I think there might be a little bit of frustrations there. And I do love the idea of both of those guys being neck and neck. Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert neck and neck in the voting for All-Star. And then us having like a 10-day stretch where neither one passes to each other or defends for each other in an effort to like solidify their All-Star position.
So my team, little weirder, basically the same as yours. The difference is I gave Wiggins the starting spot because of the fan vote. And then I included Karl-Anthony Towns instead of your placing of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think if Wiggins is not the starter and we don't have to worry about him, I'm then moving Kawhi Leonard onto the team. And then ours are very, very similar, just with you having Shai sucking up to those Thunder fans. It's good to suck up to Thunder fans because you don't have to worry about them because their team's going to be bad forever. So
it's actually the last thing I would do. If Thunder fans have gotten really mad at me for I hate the way they're building their roster. And everybody's like, they've only tanked for 1.5 to 2 seasons. And I'm like, I don't care, man. I just don't like it. And there's more on the horizon. So whatever. But that being said,
because I love nothing more than piling on the Thunder and then now the Jazz for the tanking.
Yeah.
In what season do the Thunder or Jazz project to be better than, say, the Cavs or the Grizzlies or the Bucks or the Nuggets? Like what year are they aiming for? These other teams already have way better young cores. Like the Pistons are ahead of you.
Right.
The Pistons are ahead of you guys.
It's the
like,
total.
What are we doing?
Every team that does the tanking believes themselves to be the tortoise and the hare. And it's like, It doesn't matter now. In 5 years, we'll circle back. And it's like, in 5 years, nobody's going to remember any of this.
Do you guys, Giannis is 27, right? Like what year are we waiting for? Like, I don't know. They flatten the odds. Danny Ainge is like the 2024 draft might be better than this draft. It's like I'm good with it. I'm good with it because those teams are in the conference of my team. They're in the conference of your team.
At the moment, Keith, I don't know if you've talked about this, but the Grizzlies only have one more year left in the West?
Well, honestly, if I'm drawing the maps, I'm probably putting the Timberwolves back over to the East. I think
really, what a take.
Because they're closer to all those Midwest teams.
That's true.
Detroit and Chicago and Cleveland. Like there isn't a clean fit. Right now, it does stink that the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves are both the furthest most East teams. At least the Pelicans are closer to those Texas teams.
That's true.
But it's not a smooth fit. If we do get Las Vegas and Seattle and then one Western Conference team has to jump over, I would guess it would be the Timberwolves, which would open up more All-Star spots because we throw cat. When are the Jazz and Thunder going to be better than the Timberwolves?
I don't know. It's going to be a while. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm very high on Shai. I think Shai is sneaky great, and that's why he hasn't played for the last year and a half is because they're like, we can't play him next to Kenny Hustle or we'll win too many games.
How long is a player's prime? Just generally.
Man, nowadays, 26 to 33. I consider
prime like 20, much younger, like 23 to 28 or something, 29.
Usually players are too dumb by that point. Like
that might be true.
They're not wise enough. They get wiser as they get older, but they lose that athletic.
The one thing for Shai is he's still super young. I think he's 23 right now.
Yeah.
So but I'm still like, he's borderline all-star. He's an Adam Mares all-star right now.
That's right.
It's like you're just choosing not to use those seasons. I wasn't supposed to talk about this today. I feel very sad that I got distracted.
This is my actual complaint is that Shai is a really good player and it sucks that we don't get to see it because it doesn't fit their agenda. It's like, no, he's a good player. We should see good players play. That's my big take. And it's also why I'm picking him to be an all-star this year is because I think they finally let him play and they win just too many games to get Victor W.
Yeah. Well, Adam, thanks for your time. I think Italy won this game.
Did they?
Is that what happened?
Oh, please tell me that's what happened. It fits my agenda. Live reveal on the Fastbreak Breakfast podcast.
Oh, no. France won this game.
God dang it. No. Oh, Rudy. The summer of Gobert.
Yeah, summer of Gobert's here. Italy threw that game away. Oh, they had it in control. They're up 6 in the final minute, I think, of regulation.
Fontecchio, what happened?
Oh, it's tough to see. Anyways, Adam, thanks for coming on as always, and I look forward to the next time. All right, buddy.
Thanks so much, man. Hopefully we got you out the door in time.
Oh, I'm good. Perfect timing. Thanks a lot.